Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 28, Kapila's Instruction on Devotional Service, verses number 27. Please repeat after me. Bahum chamandara gireh parivartanena. Bahum chamandara gireh parivartanena. Nirnikta bahu valayan adiloka palan. Nirnikta bahu valayan adiloka palan. Sanchidaye doshashataram asakya tejaha. Sanchitaye dashashataram asahya tejaha. Shankam chatatkara sarauruharajahamsam. Shankam chatatkara sarauruharajahamsam. Bahum chamandara gireh parivartanena. Nirnikta bahu valayana diloka palan. Sanchitaye dashashataram asakya tejaha. Shankam Chatatkara Saroruharaja Hamsam Shankam Matajis. Bahu Chamandara Gire Parivartanena Ninikta Bahu Valayan Adilo Kapalan Shantintaye Sakya Teja Kanchata Bahun, the arms, Cha and Mandara Girehe of Mount Mandara Parivartanena by the revolving Nirnikta polished Bahuvalayan the arm ornaments Adila Kapalan the sources of the controllers of the universe Sachintayet one should meditate on Dashashata Aram the Sudarshan disc Asahyate Jaha dazzling luster Shankam the conch Cha also Tatkara in the hand of the Lord Saroruha lotus like Rajahamsam like a swan. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The yogi should further meditate upon the Lord's four arms, which are the source of all the powers of the demigods, who control the various functions of material nature. Then the yogi should concentrate on the polished ornaments, which were burnished by Mount Mandara as it revolved. He should also duly contemplate the Lord's discus, the Sudarshan Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes and a dazzling luster, as well as the conch, which looks like a swan in his lotus-like palm. Purport. All departments of law and order emanate from the arms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The law and order of the universe is directed by different demigods, and it is here said to emanate from the Lord's arms. Mandara Hill is mentioned here because when the ocean was churned by the demons on one side and the demigods on the other, Mandara hill was taken as the churning rod. The Lord in his Tortoise incarnation became the pivot for the churning rod, and thus his ornaments were polished by the turning of Mandara hill. In other words, the ornaments on the arms of the Lord are as brilliant and lustrous as if they had been polished very recently. The wheel in the hand of the Lord, called the Sudarshan Chakra, has 1,000 spokes. The yogi is advised to meditate upon each of the spokes. He should meditate upon each and every one of the component parts of the transcendental form of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshur Anmilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtabhadre Srimate Bhakti Kash Swamini Temene Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtabhadre Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Temene Namaste Saraswata Devi Gaurava Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bahum Chamandara Gireh Parivartanena Nirnikta Bahu Valayan Adiloka Palan Sanchita Yedosha Shatara Masakya Teja Shankam Chatat Karasaroru Haraja Hamsam. The yogi should further meditate upon the Lord's four arms, which are the source of all the powers of the demigods, who control the various functions of material nature. Then the yogi should concentrate on the polished ornaments which were burnished by Mandara as it revolved. He should also duly contemplate the Lord's discus, the Sudarshan Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes and a dazzling luster, as well as the conch, which looks like a swan in his lotus-like palm. So we are continuing Kapila's instructions here about he's describing the form of the Lord, so the yogi he can meditate on the form of the Lord. And in this verse it is described that the Lord had very shining ornaments because they were polished by Mount Mandara. And I just want to remind you who has read the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Not so many. And there it is described this pastimes of the Lord of churning the ocean milk. And it is described there that at that period the demons they were more powerful than demigods. It is described there. You can see that actually demons and demigods they were brothers at one point, because they all emanated from Kashyapa Muni. He was their original father, and he had 2 wives, Aditi and Diti. And from these 2 wives, then one line was demigods and one line was demons. And they are always in a conflict, as we read Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because demons, they do not recognize authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are not acknowledging that. And demigods, they know that somebody is higher than them. They accept Lord Vishnu as Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we know in that time when this churning of milk ocean took place, that demons, they were, at that period of time, they were more powerful. because they were guided by Bali Maharaj, and we know that Bali Maharaj is a grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, what we worship on the altar. So we know that Bali Maharaj, he was, and demons, they were following instruction, and they were pleasing their spiritual master, and in that way they become powerful. And normally when demigods, when they are in some kind of trouble, they approach Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, to give them help, to help them out. And in that way they approached the Lord, and the Lord advised them that they should churn the ocean milk, and in that way they will get this nectar, and then by drinking that nectar, Lord described that demigods, they would become immortal, they would become very powerful, and that in that way demons could not kill them in battle. So in that way, demigods, they approached Bali Maharaj, who was a chief among demons, and they said, "Okay, we fought enough. Let's have a truce, peace. Let's have peace, and let's cooperate together in churning of this ocean, milk ocean, and in that way we can get so many nice things." They described to demons, but the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, advised demigods that whatever comes from this ocean, you just, if demons want it, just let them have it. Just don't argue. Just be peaceful, you know. And in that way, he advised them that they should take this Mount Mandara as a churning rod, and it is described. This mountain is a solid gold. It's a golden mountain, and they took Vasuki, which was king of snakes, as a rod, as a rope around churning rod. I don't know if you saw this churning of a milk to produce butter. I had this opportunity to serve in South India. I spent some time there, and in this temple there was no electricity, and everything was old-fashioned. And then devotees, they would churn the milk to get the butter. And I observed that they had one rod, and then they had this. And one devotee, he was sitting and he was doing like this and this. So it was, nowadays you just use the mixer, you know, but in that time. So I know what is, you need churning rod, you need the rope, and in that way the demigods and demons, they got Mount Mandara as a churning rod, and this snake, giant snake, as a rope. But when they start to churn the ocean, this hill was so heavy that it just sank. And then the Lord, he took this form of a tortoise, of a turtle, Kurma avatar, what we are worshipping. And this form was very, very big, because it needed to have this big mountain on top of a back, and in that way Lord took such a big form. And it is described that Lord then he took this mount from the ocean, and then this Lord, he was supporting this mountain. And then when demons and demigods, when they were churning this ocean of milk, then these different things came out. It is described that that first the poison came out, and then demigods approached Lord Shiva, and it is described that Lord Shiva saved the situation by drinking this poison. And it is described that he has a blue line on his neck, Lord Shiva, by his drinking of this ocean of poison. And these different things came out, like a Surabi cow, like some horses and elephants, were very celestial things. And demons, they wanted to possess these things, and demigods, they didn't object, they just let them have it. And then at the end, Dhanvantari appeared, this personality of Godhead appeared with the nectar. And immediately demons started to argue who will take the nectar, who will take possession of this nectar. And then it is described that Lord took this amazing form as Mohini Murti, just to bewilder the demons. And it is described that this form of the Lord was very, very beautiful. You can just imagine when Lord, he wants to attract demons, and he took this beautiful female form. And it is described that her face was very shining and very youthful. She looked very youthful, and she was just captivated. And when she appeared in front of demons, and then demons they decided to give the nectar to her and told her, please, you divide this nectar equally amongst the demons and demigods, because they were captivated by this form of the Lord. And then Mohini Murti, she took possession of this nectar, and plan was that she will give this nectar only to demigods, because you have to know that normally the Lord, we say that he is not partial, actually, that we are all his children, but we know that actually Supreme Personality of Godhead, he favored demigods, because they were his devotees, and they were serving him. And in that way, in the form of Mohini Murti, she distributed this nectar only to demigods. But then it is described there was one demon, Rahu, that he took clothes. He appeared like a demigod, but he was a demon, and he went there to drink the nectar. And it is described that actually he got the taste, the nectar, and because he took this nectar, he was immortal. But then because sun god and moon god, they saw this Rahu, and they so to say told the Lord that this is actually the demon. And it is described that Mohini Murti, in this form, she took a Sudarshan Chakra and decapitated Rahu. But because he tasted this nectar, it is described that only this head survived, and his body died. And it is described that then Lord Brahma, he took this head of a Rahu, and out of it, it is said that there is one planet now, Rahu, which is very, very inauspicious planet. And because sun god and moon god, because they first saw Rahu, because they first reported that Rahu was there to the Lord, And in that way, we know in astrology, it is described that this Rahu planet, he's like always attacking sun and moon. He always want to come in front of them. He wants to attack them, so to say. And I'm not expert actually in astrology, but I know one devotee, he was telling me, he was telling me that his children had some difficult period in this time. They were very sick, and he told me, actually in my children's chart, this planet Rahu is very, very prominent. So he told me, maybe it's better now when they are children that they go through this difficult period of life than later on in life. So then I was just thinking about the 5 Pandavas, and when they were exiled for 13 years in a forest, were there actually in this their period of very difficult period that maybe in their chart was Rahu was also prominent. I was just thinking because we know from story of 5 Pandavas that in this I was just listening from this story they had during this gambling match with Shakuni, because Shakuni won, they were exiled to forest for 12 years, and the agreement was there, you go in a forest for 12 years, and then the last year you need to be somewhere incognito, means you need to live somewhere and that nobody recognizes you as Pandavas. If somebody recognizes you as Pandavas, then you will have to go again in a forest for 12 years. And Yudhishthir, he was very afraid of this last year, because he didn't want to go to forest. He actually wanted to regain his kingdom, and in that way he was very, very careful, so to say. And when this year came, he was speaking with his brothers, where should we go to spend this last year, in hiding, so to say. And then they were discussing, and they decided that they will go to Matsya kingdom. It is kingdom where King Virata is there. He was king there because he was very favorable to 5 Pandavas. And then they were discussing what kind of role, because you can say they are going undercover. They need some kind of second identity. And then and they took different identities, and they appeared in a court of Virata, and they told him, actually we were servants of Yudhishthir, but because Yudhishthir was exiled, we don't have any work. We know that Yudhishthir, he was Kanka. It is said that he appeared there and he told Virata, I'm a Brahmana and I'm very expert in gambling, because he learned how, during his exile, he learned this art of throwing dice, and in that way Virata, he employed Yudhishthir, Bhima, he employed Bhima as a cook It is. I will be. Bhima said, "I am a Vallabha. I'm cook." And when Virata saw Bhimasen, he could not believe. He was huge. He was like natural kshatriya, and he told him, "I cannot believe you are a cook. You are such a huge. You look at your arms; they are huge. But anyway, you can take charge of a kitchen." And in that way, different Pandavas took charge of different. Nakula, he took charge of horses, Virata's horses. Sahadev, he took charge of a cow. He was a cowherd. And most interesting was Brihanala. This was Arjuna. But he decided to go incognito as a eunuch, not a man, not a woman, as a eunuch. And he was wearing women clothes, and he was having these bangles on the hands. And it was very amazing actually how Arjuna, he took this role. But it was interesting that even before this, when Arjuna, when he met his father Indra, then Indra, so to say, he arranged that Arjuna that he loses his manhood for 1 year. We know that Indradev, he knew the future actually, so to say, and he knew that this will be very good for Arjuna. And in that way, there was this Apsara, Urvashi, and Indra, he decided, he told Urvashi, please go to Arjuna, and please him, so to say. But Arjuna, he rejected Urvashi. Why? Because it is described that Urvashi, she was a descendant of their race. She was a grandmother of Pandavas, so to say. And in that way, Arjuna, he could not. This all happened actually at heavenly planets. Arjuna was such a great personality that he could go to heavenly planets in his own body. How great Arjuna was. Arjuna was such a great personality that he could do it in that way. And it is described that I don't remember which sage came there to heavenly planets, and he was amazed. He saw Arjuna there by Indra, He could not believe it. What are you doing here? Anyway, in these heavenly planets, this took place, that Urvashi, she approached Arjuna. But Arjuna said, no, I cannot look at you. You are my mother. How controlled his senses were. Because Urvashi was very beautiful, and she bewildered many men, not men, many demigods. But still, Arjuna said, no, please, I look at you as my mother. I cannot have any different relationship with you. And in that way, Urvashi, she became angry, and she cursed him that you will become a eunuch. You will lose your manhood. And Arjuna, he was worried, and he approached Indra. He approached his father. But Indra told him, don't worry, it will only last for 1 year, and it will be useful in that year when you go incognito, when you have to hide. It will be very useful. And his father was right. In that way, the Arjuna, he could take this role as Brihanala, as a eunuch in Virata's court. And when he came in front of Virata, then Virata could not believe it. This is very, very strong man, very big shoulders, very big hands. But he's wearing woman's clothes and he's wearing ornaments, and it was very strange for Virata. And Arjuna explained, I'm Brihanala, I can teach your daughter singing and dancing and these different things. And then Virata said, okay, but first I have to test you. So, and it is described that Virata, he sent very nice damsels, very nice women to try to attract Arjuna. But it is described that because he lost this, because of this curse, he was not attracted in that time. And in that way, these women reported to Virata, yes, it's true, he's eunuch, he's not attracted. So it is safe that he's with your daughter. It is safe that he stays there. And when Arjuna spent some time there, he became favorite among these women there. he was singing for them and he was laughing with them as a woman. It's very very interesting when you think about it. And then when the time came, and then this it is described that Kurus, they attacked Matsya kingdom. It is described all these powerful warriors, all Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Duryodhan, they all appeared there and they wanted to steal the cows from Virata, and they managed to steal the cows and they attacked the kingdom. And it is described there that the king Virata, he went to battle with the enemy. And then Virata's son, he remained in a court. And it was his job to go and save the cow, get the cows back. And nobody was there. So many warriors just left. Only a king's son was there. And then Arjuna, he approached him. Somebody else, Yudhishthir, as this role, Kanka. He told him, approach Brihanala, approach Arjuna. He's very good at driving chariot. He can drive your chariot in a battle. And king's son, Virata's son, he could not believe Brihanala. He's like eunuch. He's like woman. You know how he can help me in a fight. And Arjuna, as Brihanala, he took his role very seriously. And when he was putting his armor, it is described that he was putting it very clumsy. Although he knew it, and he was putting it, and then the armor just fell off with so much noise. And the different ladies, they were laughing. They were laughing at Arjuna. He does not know how to put the armor. But we know who is Arjuna actually. He was very, very great warrior. And in that way, he saved the day, so to say, in this battle which took place. It is very amazing that Arjuna, he was driving chariot for some time. Then he told Virata's son, we can change. You drive my chariot and I will fight. And then he got there. He got his Gandiva bow. They just hide that weapons on one tree before going to the kingdom. And now when he was fighting, he took this Gandiva bow And it is described there that a wonderful battle took place in which Arjuna, he defeated all the great warriors, all by himself. So we can meditate how powerful warrior was Arjuna. Even Bhishma Dev was defeated at that time. He could not defeat Arjuna. Arjuna, he was piercing Bhishma Dev's body with so many arrows that Bhishma Dev, he just almost fainted, almost fell from his chariot. And then his chariot driver saw Bhishma Dev, he was wounded, and he got him off the battlefield. Karna also, it is described, Karna is a great fighter, but he was no match for Arjuna. So Arjuna single-handedly, he defeated these different kings. And then gradually, when they got back, the Virata king, he got information that actually these different personalities that they were in my kingdom, that they were actually Pandavas. He could not believe, His son was saying, no, I didn't know anything. Brihanala did the fighting. And king was, wait, Brihanala? What are you talking about, But then he knew, okay, Brihanala, he's actually Arjuna. And Virata, he bade obeisance. Please, sorry that if I offended you in any way. And he offered his daughter Uttara to marriage to Arjuna. Please take my daughter as your wife. But Arjuna, he told him, I cannot take, because for 1 year I lived with your daughter. I know her very well. She is like my daughter. So I can better she marries my son, Abhimanyu. And in that way, he told him, in that way, people will not speak. If I marry her, then people will speak that we had some not proper relationship, but better she marry my son. In that way, Uttara was married to Abhimanyu. And we know this was the last year of exile for Pandavas, and during that last year, they managed to get this nice and important alliance with Virata, with Matsya kingdom, and they became connected to this kingdom, and they then from there gathered different soldiers. As we know from this last year, it was preparation for this big war that was coming on Kurukshetra, Battle of Kurukshetra, as we know it. But yes, we can meditate. It is described like Kapila Dev is describing to his mother these different forms of the Lord. And in this verse that we read, this Kurma avatar was described, and we can meditate how wonderful the Lord is, that he even takes a form of an animal just to please his devotees, just to help his devotees. And in that way, it is described that his ornaments were very shiny on his body, because Mandara mountain, it was polishing. Mandara mountain was polishing the different ornaments of the Lord. So we can meditate on these different parts of the body of the Lord, and in that way we can gradually purify our mind, and then gradually become fixed in thinking of Lord. This is our mission, that we think always of Krishna and never forget him. This is our process, and in that way by reading books, by associating with devotees, we will achieve this ultimate goal of remembering always Krishna. In that way, we can say Srimad Bhagavatam is like instructions, book of instructions. How can you meditate on the Lord and get liberated from this material bondage? So okay, I will stop here. If there are some some questions or comments. Yes.
We spoke about this sun eclipse, that Minamoti, this connection, in this connection, and next Tuesday, actually on Diwali, we will have the sun eclipse here. Maybe you can tell a little bit more what we meditate upon this and how does it work that Rahu is eating sun.
Thank you, Ramananda Gopal Prabhu, for that nice question. But I must admit that I'm not expert, so I cannot actually properly answer the question. The question was, how is it that Rahu is eating the sun? But the point is that Rahu comes in front of the sun or the moon, and then in that way it eclipses the sun and moon, and so. And it is said that it is not auspicious period. Some devotees they go. They are saying, you should not even go out in this period, but you should not leave prasadam outside or things like that. Bhukdesh, you should not do Bhukdesh? Yes. So this is what I can say. Not so much, Yes. I think Munindra Gana was. You had your hand? No. You didn't have? Then Subal Gopal, you have something? No, okay. Somebody else has some questions? Okay, we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.